The Matrix Resurrections is more of a purple pill. Sure, there are some awesome red pill moments sprinkled throughout the film, but overall, it's total blue pill. And what do you know? Purple just happens to be the color of HBO Max, where I would recommend you watch this movie. With all due respect to Lana Wachowski, it seems that making another Matrix movie was a tough pill for her to swallow. As the movie is not, some of you have said that she has talked about why she made the movie, but hold on, I have some evidence to the contrary. Or maybe she didn't know how to feel about it, but I think there's definitely a large part of her that didn't want to do this. The movie is not only super meta, don't worry, this is a non-spoiler review, but it's super meta, and there are large chunks of the movie where there's not only dialogue about how nobody here wants to revisit the Matrix, a lot of complaining, but also some pretty aggressive commentary about the state of filmmaking today, including an over-reliance on sequels and nostalgia with a character that, let's just say, I would describe as homeless Martin Scorsese. When you see this character, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Even the end credit sequence, there is one, I waited for it, I waited through all the credits, and I felt that it was a bit of a middle finger, or at least a laugh at current Hollywood trends in fandom. I did not appreciate it. All right, Lana Wachowski even tried to use COVID as an excuse to stop making this movie once it was paused due to the pandemic, but the cast talked her into finishing it because they needed that line on their resumes. Did they though? I mean, they didn't. I don't. They. What's the famous line from Jeff Goldblum? You were so busy wondering if you could, you didn't stop to think if you should. Ironically, if Lana Wachowski had made the very type of sequel that she's making fun of here, this would be not only, I think, a much better movie, but a more successful one. It has excellent elements, and it's quite clever in spots, so much so that I would recommend checking it out if you're at all a fan of The Matrix. But again, on HBO Max. Who should see this on the big screen? I will admit that it was thrilling to see the opening in IMAX. I got to go to an IMAX press screening, and particularly I'd say for the first 15 to 20 minutes of the film, I felt there was potential. But with Omicron, so many other theaters-only options, and competing for your ticket money, and a movie that gets progressively worse as it goes on, well, this is really a theaters-only experience for Matrix superfans who did like Matrix 2 and 3. That's a very good litmus test. If you liked Matrix 2 and 3, particularly if you liked 3, then yeah, go pay to see this on the big screen. Have a great time. More power to you. But if you were like, the Matrix sequels weren't as good, HBO Max this. All right, I would say my biggest criticism of The Matrix Resurrections is that it doesn't play like the fourth film in a franchise. Once again, all the big questions and action scenes are promised for Matrix 5. I ain't falling for that again. They did the same thing with the first Matrix, and then they didn't deliver any action or answers in Matrix 2 and 3 either. The movie itself proclaims we need a new bullet time, yet all they can come up with is Neo stopping bullets, which he did in Matrix 2. With much more finesse. I guess he also has like an EMP blast to some degree. That's the best way I can describe it. But his new moves aren't anywhere as cool as his original ones. I still feel very strongly that this franchise should be given to a new prestige director and writer. Like Loki's Kate Herron, she's actually perfect for this. There's a lot of great talent out there these days that would respect the Wachowskis' focus on people outside of the system. Matrix Resurrections, by the way, leans very heavily towards Sense8, including bringing over several of those cast members. But let's not forget that Sense8 was canceled. But also able to fulfill, I think new talent would be able to fulfill the story and action requirements to make a mainstream hit. I really feel Kate Herron would be perfect for this, and Warner Brothers should give her a call. Anyway, back to Sense8. Like that show, a large percent of the actors here are openly LGBT. And it's really wonderful to see so many openly LGBT actors in an action movie like this in roles they normally aren't cast in. And they do a fantastic job. Across the board, really great talent on display here. But like with Birds of Prey, these filmmakers aren't doing the LGBT community any favors by putting them in movies that aren't top quality and that don't deliver for their franchises, their respective franchises. I think we want an LGBT movie where there's a big win. And so fingers crossed for Wicked and Hulkling. All right, so anyway, one more non-spoiler complaint about the movie, and then I'll talk about the things that I did enjoy. Not having Lawrence Fishburne or Hugo Weaving was a real problem. Like, it's just an insurmountable one. Thankfully, Jonathan Groff is fantastic as the replacement Smith and almost made me forget Weaving. He was great. But sadly, Yahya Abdul Mateen II, who I'm also a big fan of, just can't fight the ghost of Lawrence Fishburne, especially because he's often shown standing next to actual footage of Lawrence Fishburne from the earlier movies. And Lawrence Fishburne is alive, available, and says he would have really liked to have been in this movie, so it's super weird that he's not. The movie also relies very heavily on that former Matrix footage, which is shown throughout the film extensively, which I think was a mistake. They explain the choice and I understand the choice, but it just doesn't work. Also, they have a double filling in for young Carrie-Anne Moss in the opening, and it's supposed to be jarring. The script says, oh, you're supposed to feel this is off. But it's off to the point of stupidity. Also, it doesn't help that the double that they got doesn't nearly have the screen presence as Carrie-Anne Moss did in the original film. The plot sets up a perfect opportunity to use animated video game cutscenes here in the film here and there to represent the first films. But I guess Warner Brothers didn't want to pay for that animation. They should have. They really should have. All right, so did I like anything? Yes, I did. The Matrix Resurrections has some very interesting things to say, especially monologues for Carrie-Anne Moss and Neil Patrick Harris. Their monologues are so good, you could deliver those in acting classes, and both actors knock it out of the park. Loved those scenes. Loved them. It's also a lot of fun to watch Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss pick up just where they left off without missing a step and be just as cool. I loved that. Jada Pinkett Smith is also back and totally overacts as a much older version of Niobe, but Jada Pinkett Smith is really good at overacting and chewing scenery, as any Gotham fan knows, so I enjoyed her work here as well. I also absolutely adored Neil Patrick Harris and Jonathan Groff in this movie. They should do more action films. We'll discuss Neil Patrick Harris more in the spoiler review, but wow, was he good. So good. And I did enjoy in the IMAX how crisp and clear the footage was, although I'm sure it'll look that good on your TV as well. As for Groff, you all know what a big Jonathan Groff fan I am. I love Jonathan Groff, and he seems to be drifting towards villain roles lately, and he's very good at it. He has such diversity as an actor. He's fantastic. Also, reimagining Neo's foe as a Hollywood suit. Lana Wachowski, we can see how you feel, but complete with loafers with no socks during action scenes, as someone who loves business, that really made my day. This was fantastic. I loved it. Loved him. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, what about Jessica Henwick, who does a nice job as always? Jessica Henwick, if it weren't for bad luck, she wouldn't have no luck at all. And I say that because her role isn't nearly as cool as Carrie-Anne Moss's back in the day. She's just taken up space, to be honest with you. I think this new Matrix has a few too many characters. In fact, Carrie-Anne Moss is hardly in the film at all until the very end. So yeah, The Matrix Resurrections is another big swing and unfortunately a miss for, one Wachowski, as Lily sat this one out. But like a lot of their work, it still has interesting ideas and strong performances and visuals that make it worth checking out. But really, this is an HBO Max movie. Although again, I do want to see the franchise continue, and although I don't think you have to get rid of the Wachowskis, I just think neither sister should be at the helm anymore. So call Kate Herron. That's basically my review of The Matrix Resurrections. So that's my non-spoiler review for The Matrix 4 hitting theaters and HBO Max day and date this Wednesday. Share your own thoughts down below. Be nice, Matrix superfans. I'm being really fair to this movie. Subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.